Good evening and welcome to Mr. Wilson Live. We are streaming from the Caribbean, Jamaica to be specific, Kingston, Jamaica. And I'm really happy to be here with you. And of course, I'm really extremely happy that you took the time out to be with us here. A wonderful evening it is. We're going to be looking at pregnancy and a whole lot of things surrounding pregnancy. Due to the time, we won't be able to look at, of course, birth control or the menstrual cycle today, but we should complete reproduction by about Sunday. I don't really want to put too much on you too fast and, of course, damage what we have going so good. So, welcome to the show. How are you doing wherever you are? Let me just do the roll call very quickly and hop right into the show because I know I am late. I had to rush out just then when I sent you the message, but I'm back, I think, very quickly. So, Macmillan, good evening. Ellington, good evening. Barnett, good evening. Cardis, I hope that's the name. Good evening. Radway, good evening. Cooper, good evening. Powell, good evening. Mackenzie, good evening. Minor, good evening. And of course, Treasure, you're in the house. Good evening. And of course, Crystal Mackenzie and Tomlin. I did not see Crystal today, but she's here this evening. It's wonderful to have you all. We're going to be hopping on right into, of course, pregnancy. And this is more like an adult show. We're pretty much looking at the C-sex syllabus, but of course, I'm going to be going a little further to ensure that we have it locked. Whether you are male or female, it does matter. This show is for you. Whether you are a biology student or a HSB student, this show is for you. And if you are not even a science student and you are listening from wherever you are, you're going to want to listen to this show because we're going to be talking about pregnancy and a number of things surrounding pregnancy. Someone had asked in the last show, why is it that some women can't get pregnant? And that type of thing. We're going to be looking at that today. And of course, we're going to continue on Friday and of course into Sunday, at which point we should bring a wrap to reproduction and we'll be ready to look at mitosis come next Wednesday. So let's get ready to go. For those persons who are here for the first time, welcome, welcome, welcome. And if you're on the internet just watching and you're not locked and loaded into the live show as yet, we welcome you and encourage you to come on over to share with us. Of course, please be reminded to like, share, and of course, subscribe. I want to tell you that I have good news for you. I'll be sharing the good news with you at the end of the show. But let's finish with the talking now and get right into the meat of the matter. So last week we had a forensic exam where we were looking at who was responsible for the pregnancy. This week we're going to give you some other forensic question and see how well you will treat with that. But just let's recap what we did last week. In summary, what we did, we looked at sexual and asexual reproduction. And today we're going to continue with sexual reproduction. Then we said that sexual reproduction was pretty much the fusion of a male and female gamete. We pointed out the fact that there was no need to have sex for sexual reproduction to take place. All that needed then was to have the male gamete, which is of course the sperm, fusing with the egg. And that was pretty clear, and we moved on. We continued the journey, and then we looked on into fertilization. And at fertilization, we said what pretty much happened was that there was fusion of a male and female gamete. It was very important for us to point out the fact that this fusion takes place in what we refer to as a oviduct or the fallopian tube. Having looked at that, we went on to look at implantation. So fertilization is taking place in the oviduct. And then we looked at implantation now taking place in the uterus. I'm going to be reminding us, for those persons who are joining us for the first time, it is required that you use a textbook to follow the show. And of course, you want to open a Google window because from time to time, we're going to be asking you stuff that you probably have to up and over. Probably we're going to be asking you to look at a particular diagram because we don't use that here because of a number of limitations. But of course, you should be able to find on your phone, and we're going to be having a very interesting discussion. So we said in the last class that meiosis is pretty much responsible for the haploid number of chromosome being passed on. 23 from mom, 23 from dad, and then look at the beauty that was created. But then we must be aware that after we had that fusion of the male and female gamete, after they joined, remember we said that fusion means join, fission means split. So after that fusion, what took place was mitosis. Because remember, we started out pretty much from just two cells. And now we look how many cells we are. And then the cells were, these two cells having formed this zygote, they continue to split and make a ball. And then cells become specialized. And then we have cells to do all sorts of things. We have nerve cell, blood cell, muscle cell, you name it. We have so many cells. So today, we're going to be looking at the actual pregnancy. So you would have gotten yourself in trouble because you went out and you took part in this inefficient process called dating or finding a mate. Now, after you took part in that inefficient process, then you went on to ensure that there was fusion of a male and female gamete. What you did to cause fusion, I really don't know. But what I know is that after fusion, then came implantation. And that is the point, if you were a child, where your parents would say to you, if you have not reached that age of consent, the age of consent, then your parents would be saying to you, right where you catch your cold, go right there and go blow your nose. So wherever you got in trouble, just go back there with your trouble. So that is where we are now. We are sure that now you would have caught that cold. So it's time to blow your nose. So we're going to look at the whole process of blowing the nose, as they would have said. So with the implantation of the damage you have created comes thickening of a wall of the uterus. Now, the wall of the uterus is, of course, is thickening with the fetus implanted, is referred to as the placenta. Now, at this time, the placenta has a rich supply of blood and, of course, a whole lot of blood vessels. Now, this rich supply of blood and, of course, the thickening of the uterus wall is pretty much controlled by the hormone that is called estrogen and, of course, progesterone. And, of course, these are from our ovaries. So we're talking about pregnancy, and primarily we're looking at women. Of course, if a woman is pregnant, then a man must be pregnant as well, because a man must be a part of the process. And a man has to start to face up to him responsibility and understand the fact that you are going to be in this together. This is like a partner plan. So when it comes to clinic, you're going to be there some of the days if you can. And of course, when it comes to taking care of a baby, you are going to be there as well. So I do hope that my boys are here and they are listening, and the men as well. I have some men here, so I hope they are listening and they are following. Now, after we would have had this rich supply of blood and, of course, many blood vessels, then there is a growth of a Tyrannicvilli. Now, these villi are pretty much like finger-like projection, pretty much like the villi that is associated with digestion in the ileum. So what these villi do, they create a large surface area. Remember, we talk about large surface area. They create this large surface area so that they can be exchange of substances between mother and offspring. And of course, this must take place very quickly. So of course, we understand that this growth is from the embryo. So we started out at zygote. Now we're at embryo. And of course, this growth is from the embryo to, of course, the placenta. One thing to note is that there is no mixing of the mother and the fetus blood here. No mixing. We're going to talk about that as we talk about the rhesus factor. We're going to be talking about AIDS and pregnancy. It is not so much in your content here, but as we look at AIDS, it is something to deal with, and it is also a social issue which we must treat with and have a good understanding of what actually happens when a woman is pregnant with AIDS and what is likely to happen to the offspring. If I might say, if all the guidelines are followed, there's just a 1% chance of the offspring having that HIV virus. If all the instructions are followed, if all the instructions are adhered to, then there is just a 1% chance of the offspring having the HIV. So we just said a while ago that the blood doesn't mix, but it is sad to say that despite there is a membrane that separates mommy from baby, there are still some things that can go across. Now, I want you to tell me in the chat before you fall asleep, what are some of the things that could cross from mommy to baby that you wouldn't want to go over there? I will start you off. We really don't. Alcohol will go across the membrane. Tell me what else will go across the membrane. Drugs intake. Anything else? Anonymous girl? Anything else? Come on, guys. This is a question for everyone. We really don't know anybody, so just respond as much as you can. All right, so what we're talking now about things that we really don't want to go across the membrane. I know this is a very tricky topic for a lot of students because in some cases it's falling in the null curriculum, but we are going to explore it. Remember, we are going through everything. I did promise you that, and I'm keeping my promise. So we really don't want alcohol to go across. We don't want drugs of any type to go across, but they will go across. And of course, nicotine. Nicotine, which is of course from tobacco smoking, we have there from amoy. Bacteria, we might have some virus going across, and we're going to be talking about that. We put that in one big group of course, pathogen. All right, negative genetic inheritance, not going across, but of course, we could have some negative inheritance. But we're talking now about things that you could prevent from happening if you have a healthy and safe lifestyle. So your lifestyle here is what we want to look at when we look at things that we're thinking about that could cross the barrier. And of course, you could prevent it from crossing the barrier. Now, we want to look at the good things that are going across. So from mommy to baby, we are going to have, of course, nutrient and oxygen. From mommy to baby, going across that barrier, we are going to have nutrient and oxygen. And from baby to mommy, we are going to have carbon dioxide and other waste product traveling across that membrane. Now, let us continue with what is happening inside of that uterus. So the walls are thickened. We have the Tyrannicvilli being formed, and of course, that is now attached to the placenta from the embryo. So now we are now going to be looking at the umbilical cord, which is now, of course, attached to the abdomen of the baby. Now, interesting to note, please pay attention on this one. Interesting to note here, please pay attention. The umbilical cord has blood vessels going from parent to offspring. Remember, the blood really doesn't mix. It's interesting to note that, no, I'm not going to give you that yet. Let me cool it down a little bit. So the umbilical cord will have the blood vessels. Digest that first. The embryo is now in what we call an amniotic sac. So it's like the embryo, the baby developing, it's like this baby now is in a balloon with some water. All right, so we have the umbilical cord connected. The baby is now in this thing like balloon called the amniotic sac. That is, of course, filled with water-like fluid, and it acts as a shock absorber. So can you imagine? It's like a bouncer boat. The baby is in a bouncer boat. Oh, bouncing, bouncing. All right. Now, this is very important for a number of reasons. Now, if you look at your shoes bottom, you'll realize that the bottom of your shoes would have washed down over time. All that you did was to walk out the road to fetch something and come back a couple of times. And then look what happened. The bottom of the shoes would have eroded. Now, can you imagine if this baby was not in this fluid, suspended? What would have happened is that the baby would have been rubbing on your inside. And then before you know it, you just have a little hole, like a little mirror or a little window in your belly. We could just look at the baby, or probably your intestine will be coming through that space. So we don't want that to happen. As such, the baby is suspended in this fluid and the baby is able to move. So when you move, the baby move. When you that type of thing, and the shock absorbent, the baby's like in a comfortable thing, just jerking at times. But this fluid also has another very important function. It allows the baby to move. Now those persons who would have had a child, they can tell you that they would have felt the baby moving every now and then, and they pretty much can relate to the baby moving. But it's very important that we have that fluid, as that fluid is pretty much a shock absorber. But let us look at this. Now, if you're a kid in the room, you probably want to step aside now, or you probably would want your parents to sit beside you. Though I'm doing the content in biology, I might be touching some things that might be above our smaller kids. So smaller kids probably would want to step away so that I can teach the content as is. The content might be a little over minor, the head of minors. So I go now. We know about the fact of termination of pregnancy. It might be legal some places, it might be illegal in other places, it might be ethical in some places, it might be unethical in some places. I am not going to be the judge of that. But it is important to note that at 2 months, there's a human form of a fetus that is recognizable in that mother. So at 2 months, before you even realize that you are pregnant, because most persons are waiting on 3 months to be pregnant. I am going to say that, to be pregnant, right? So at 3 months, you're going to say, oh, I have missed on 1 month. I missed on 2 months. I missed on 3 months. Something is happening. You can get me one of those things at the pharmacy, or I need to see the doctor. Because and then you start to quarrel with work. I am stressed. I really can't take that supervisor. It is the supervisor that caused me not to go to the stoplight. And then, but the supervisor went on leave. So you're still not going to the stoplight. What's happening? And then, lo and behold, you went and you checked. And you know what happened? You know what happened? Mm-hmm. It happened. It happened. Now, the sad thing is, it happened, and it was not something that the person wanted. So at 2 months, you probably have to live with this in your head that you are probably a murderer. I don't know. I don't know. Persons have different view on this, and I have no view. All right. So the important thing here is that at 2 months, you can see that what you have inside is not a goat, it's not a pig, it's not a cattle, it's not a snake. It is a baby like you were when you were a baby. All right. So we continue. Now at 3 months, the sex of this child can be identified. At 3 months. At 3 months. So we have a real life form now. Real life form. Now, somebody asked, or somebody said in the last class, I said in the class that it takes 10 months to have baby, and I'm going to be explaining that today. And somebody said, no problem, you can say just about anything. So how baby is born before that? Now, we spoke about 3 months, a whole lot of things were in place. Now, the rest of the time is pretty much just spent for development of this baby inside of you. Now, like everything, You know, you remember you saw that mango on the tree and you were looking at that mango. Hey, that mango, you see that mango is a big and nice mango. I'm going to get it about next week. And next week, when you go for that mango, guess what happened? Somebody picked the mango. So somebody got that mango before it was ripe. Somebody got that mango before it reached that stage of maturity that you considered was ripe. So it's the same thing with a baby. Though the baby will take about 37 to 40 weeks to become mature, the baby could come before because of a number of reasons. And we're going to be talking about some of them in the show as we go along. Welcome to the show, those persons who are just joining, and good evening to those persons who are late. So, the birth of a baby is, in most persons' head, 9 months after fertilization. 9 months. And the calculation really in weeks is somewhere about 37 to 40 weeks that would be considered ideal. Of course, you might have a baby that come a little later, or you might have a baby that come a little earlier. And we're going to be looking at the accuracy of prediction where we get into ultrasound. Yeah, we're going to look at ultrasound. Now, what I want you to do for me now, I want you to just hop on over to Google and I want you to find a diagram of a fetus in the uterus. I want you to find a diagram of a fetus in the uterus. We want to look at this baby in the sac and we want to be able to identify the parts that are, of course, labeled. Now, I'm going to be going through some of these with you, but as soon as you would have found that diagram on Google, you let me know and we're going to be going through the diagram very, very quickly. I want you just to look at some of the parts that you would have seen, type them in the chat there. And of course, I want to have a clear understanding that you know what we're talking about. And of course, you'll be studying this diagram. We haven't seen this diagram on the exam for some time, but who knows? You might be surprised. I have one in my book, sir. Good. If you have one in your book, that is very, 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 very good. So we're going to be looking at that diagram very, very quickly. And then I'm going to be upping on to something else. So we want to identify some parts. I'm looking at a diagram here. All right, we want to identify some parts. I want you to identify the amnion, right? And I want you to identify that sac that the baby is in. All right, so tell me what, got it, sir. So what I want you to do is to just tell me some parts. Type in the chat and tell me what you see. Just type, just communicate to me. Just communicate to me. Tell me what you're seeing there on your diagram. Type it in the chat. Type in the chat. I'm not seeing anything. What's that mean? Okay, so somebody's seeing the villi. Very good. That's one part that you needed to see. Continue. Placenta. Good. The amniotic fluid, the amnion. Very good. Continue. I like what I'm seeing. Continue. Umbilical cord. Yes, we're seeing that. What else are we seeing? You're seeing the cervix. Okay, beautiful. Umbilical cord, amniotic fluid, Tyrannicvilli, placenta. Is there anything else? There are other stuff. Persons are seeing the embryo. Once somebody said the vagina, and that is pretty much just a passageway up to the cervix there. Somebody's seen the fetus, very good, and somebody's seen the left oviduct. Somebody's seen the umbilical vein. You're seeing that in your diagram, interesting. Mucus plug. Umbilical vein, umbilical artery. Okay. So we're seeing pretty much everything. I was looking at the diagram and I was a little bit worried that nobody would have seen the fetus. But as somebody saw it, not everybody saw the fetus, but somebody saw it. Very good. I think you did a good job there. You need to give yourself a round of applause. That was really, really good. Now, you want to be able to identify the parts, right? You want to be able to identify them, label them, and of course, tell the function if you were supposed to see them in an examination. But we're going to be looking at the function of some of these parts. Let us start with the walls of the uterus. The walls of the uterus. Now, the first thing we know about the wall of the uterus is that it protects the fetus. That's the first thing. And for those women who have gone on that lonely road, you will remember that it is also responsible for contraction during birth. So while giving birth, that area there will be contracting to, of course, send little one out here to come and show his handsome face or her beautiful face, pretty much like somebody that everyone would know. All right, very good. So the other thing that we would be seeing and we needed to know a little bit about is the amnion. And the amnion is pretty much this fluid. And it's, of course, like I said earlier, for shock prevention, it prevents friction. And of course, it allows the fetus to pretty much move within that sac. Another thing I wanted to talk about, which I delayed, was to talk about the umbilical cord, which pretty much forms that union between mother and offspring. But I wanted to point out something here, which is, of course, the function of the vein and the artery that is associated with the umbilical cord, the offspring, and the mother. So, but I can't do that. I'll be stealing the class from you. So I'm going to be asking you the question. What is it that is scared? Don't guess now. Don't guess. Am I see you know. I see you ready to guess. You and DD. Don't guess. Don't guess this one. If you don't know, research it and tell us. What is transported in that vein that is associated with the umbilical cord? What is transported in the vein? Tell me. Tell me. I'm looking at this. Everybody needs to pay attention to this because this seems to be a trick question, but no, it is something that deviates from the norm of veins. As such, we have to point this out and ensure that you have it locked. Hey, Didi, you see what Didi type over there in the vein? Is that true? Macmillan, is that true? Oh, wow. Radway, is that true? No. Lawrence, the vein carried dissolved food. Oh, wow. Is that true? Dissolved food and nutrient. Wow. You realize that? You realize that? Good. Did you also realize that just now that that is not the same for the vein in DD, for the vein in Amoy, for the vein in Jawawan, for the veins in Powell? Let us just pause here and give baby a little rest. The baby wants to sleep. Let the baby sleep. So in Jawawan veins and Powell vein and Macmillan vein and DD vein, what is transported in those veins? Hold one bit. Draw the line now. I want to know what is transported now in DD vein, Powell vein, Macmillan vein, Amoy's vein, Jawawan vein, Otisha vein, Tanisha vein, Mackenzie vein. No. We know that blood is transporting. Guys, don't pull that short answer. Don't pull that short answer thing on me. Don't do that. That is a 4 in HSBR bio. Don't do that. Blood is transported in all these blood vessels. So you're going to be specific. Don't pull that on Mr. Wilson. Don't do that. All right. So you want to tell me about something more specific. Deoxygenated blood or oxygenated blood or nutrient. Don't just go blood. All right, guys. Don't do that. All right. I know that was a mistake by everyone, but that's fine. All right. So we're looking now at what is transported in the vein. What type? All right, let me say what type of blood. Deoxygenated blood. Good. But in the baby, it is different. In or with the baby, not in the baby body, you know. Just in those blood vessels that go across the umbilical cord. I want you to pay attention to that. So in that umbilical vein there, oxygen And that is, of course, oxygenated, nutrient rich blood from the placenta is entering the fetus through the vein. I never hear that before in my life. Because all the time when we are teaching this thing, the only thing we taught you about was about the pulmonary artery and the pulmonary vein. Neck back. Suppose you didn't miss class today, you realize what would happen? You would have still have that belief that it's the same thing with the umbilical vein and the umbilical artery. But now you know. So tell me what happens with the umbilical artery. What is transported in the umbilical artery? That artery that is associated with the umbilical cord, the fetus, and the mother. Tell me what is transported in it. Ah, Mr. Wilson ain't gonna steal your class. I'm listening to you. We have bright students in here who can tell Mr. Wilson everything. So tell me now, what is transported in that umbilical artery? Oh, these are waste and carbon dioxide. Oh my. It is just so different than it's transported in you and I. Oh my. Look at what is happening here. All this is happening in artery, you know. Oh my. Oh wow. It's a good thing I am at class today, or else I would have missed out on this. Thumbs up, guys. You're doing well. We're looking at the placenta now. We're looking at the placenta now. All right, I thought I use the term baby fetus thing loosely because I'm going to come to it and we're going to be talking about all of that. Zeph. Tanisha, that's the name Zeph. Zeph, zygote, embryo, fetus. So we're going to be talking about Zeph, not Jeff, you know, but Zeph. Remember that memory aid? If you were supposed to look at the biology paper 2020, you would see them asking you about the embryo and they'll be asking you about the seed and the correct order of development. So we need to know the correct order of development here. Thank you very much, Tanisha. Now we're going to be talking about Zeph. What is his name? Zeph. Zeph stand for, yes, zygote, embryo, and fetus. So when you go to the exam, you remember we're talking about Zeph. It is Zeph that became the baby. Oh, wow. Nice day it is. Let's move on. We're looking at the placenta. Now, the placenta acts as that barrier for the blood. And that's a barrier between mommy and offspring. And then the last thing we want to look at here, we want to look at the villi. But I want you to tell me, what is the function of that Tyrannicvilli? Tell me in the chat there. If you have to research it, go and research it. Please do not guess. What is the function of a Tyrannicvilli? Welcome to those persons who are joining the show for the first time. We're having a grand time. We have just looked at, we're about to complete the whole aspect of pregnancy. So we were talking just now, what happens when you go out and you catch your cold? Ha 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 ha. We were talking about that, and we pretty much started talking about this inefficient process of dating. Oh my, we have to do that because we reproduce sexually, and then we spoke about copulation, and then we went on into fertilization, and from fertilization we went on into implantation, and then from implantation we went on into, you understand, getting a little right. And then we're looking at what is actually happening on the inside to be causing that little extension there, that lovely extension, the extension of life. I tell you, that is what we have been looking at. Now my students are telling me about the Tyrannicvilli, so I make my read here. It increases the surface area between the placenta and lining of the uterus. Of course, a part of my task here is to teach those students who have not been doing any research, those students who think that it is all in a book or in the teacher's head. I use this opportunity to teach them that you could go to Google or some other search engine and find some of the information that the teacher or the book would have. And it is working nicely here, so everyone needs to participate. So I go on to Jawawan, and she said large surface area for exchange of material between blood of the mother and the fetus. You see that an amoy is there to increase the contact area. That's another nice thing to use, contact area between the placenta and, of course, the uterus lining. So those persons who were not here before, and you're here for my first show, when we talk about increasing surface area, I'm going to draw for my paper. Because surface area is a big thing. If you have looked at my 2020 biology paper one that I worked out and posted yesterday or day before yesterday, you will see that question about the amoeba and human as it relates to surface area, and I did explain. So what I'm going to do, this is my paper, and this is a very large surface area, not because of how wide this is, but because it allows for penetration very easily. Now, when I do like this, and I make it into this, now this is the human. This is a small surface area. Now, if I were supposed to drop this in some water and I take it out back, then the entire paper would not be wet. But if I were supposed to increase the surface area, as we would, like the amoeba, and I were supposed to drop this in some water like that, then everything would become wet. Now, because we don't have this large surface area, it is a reason for us needing a transport system. So what this villi does is to move it out of the concept of this into a concept of this. Pretty wide, it can take up more. It's like, like you're craving like me, and you don't want a little beanie plate to hold us a little bit. You want a big plate like some when you're eating, you just cover it around like that, that nobody no bigger. No, you're not getting none. No, you're not. You follow me? So it increases that surface area so more can pass through quickly. Very good. We're doing well so far, and I think I like what's happening. Powell. Blood-borne waste removed from the fetus also travel out the fetus through the umbilical vessel. Beautiful. Cooper, sir, you lost me with the villi. All right, beautiful, beautiful. I like that. I like that. I like that. So I have to find something else to tell you. If I lost you with the villi, then so too I would have lost you when we looked at the villus when we were doing digestion. And if I lost you with the villus in digestion, I would have lost you with surface area to volume ratio. There is a video on my channel. You can go there and watch it, but I am going to be explaining it again. All right? So not a bother. You're not the only person who would be lost now. There are other persons who are lost, but they're not talking about it. But we're going to be working on that. All right? Beautiful. So let me see if I can do. I'm going to try my best to do it. It's not the easiest thing. Probably it's even better on my channel when I'm all prepared. So I'm going to be looking at all. I'm going to be looking at all three: surface area to volume ratio. I'm not going to be using the examples on my channel. I'm going to try to make it probably a little simpler. If, for example, you and I, amoeba, you see, amoeba is like this. It's just flat thing like this. So it is so thin that it allows substances to move through very quickly. Now, there's a mathematical calculation I have on my channel. You can just go to my channel and look at surface area to volume ratio. I'm not going to be doing that now. And that will explain how we come by the volume versus the ratio, the size. It will explain all that there on the channel. But let me just try and do this as practical as possible. So here we have the amoeba. It is as flat as this. So you would agree with me that it is easy for things to pass through. Now, with this, what we would say is that this has a large surface area to its volume ratio. There's a maths on my channel versus I did the explanation using some cube and using some animals. You can go there and look at that on my channel. So this would have a large surface area to volume ratio because it's very thin and of course wide. Now, if you look at this paper, I'm going to crush this paper now. So now with this paper, it has a small surface area to volume ratio. With a large surface area to volume ratio, things will pass through very quickly and a lot will pass through in a short time. With a small surface area to volume ratio, things will pass through but not so quickly and not at that large volume. With the villus, as it were, in the Tyrannicvilli, what happens if we had one vessel coming out like this, right? Then that would reduce the amount of substance that can come in and out and how quickly it can do and how quickly it does that. But if we had several like this, several connected like this, so that's what the videos, it's like pretty much like some finger-like projections, so like some different fingers. Because we have more of these, it pretty much increases the surface area and allow more substances to move in and out very quickly. I do hope I did a good job at it. But if I didn't do a good job at it, just up on over to my video. There are two videos I have on the channel. One that work out a maths to show surface area to volume ratio, and another that works out. I use the cube, I use the elephant, I use a human, I use the amoeba, and I use all these three examples to show you surface area to volume ratio. Remember, this is always on your exam paper because it's the first thing in circulation. So the villus in digestion increases surface area. The human has to have a complex circulatory system because of the small surface area to volume ratio. And here again, with the baby and the parent, the villus creates a large surface area. The same is true for the bio students who are looking at the plant. The large number of leaves on the plant creates a large surface area for gaseous exchange with the plant. It's a lot of things I'm saying here. You probably have to watch the video again. I remember when you are watching my videos, you are going to turn on that closed caption on YouTube. So of course you can follow and of course make notes. So I look here and then I'm going to be hopping on into the interesting topic where I think the class will become alive. Villi function is to increase contact area between placenta. Good. If you increase contact area, you are also increasing the surface area to volume ratio. All right, beautiful. So that would have taken us to the end of the pregnancy stuff. And now we have to deal with a lot of complications and a whole lot of story. So last week we had some forensic scientists in the house and they were solving a problem where a young lady got pregnant. She was involved with two fellows. She only had sex with one. And the unfortunate circumstance then was that the fellow that she had sex with did an operation. What is the operation called? That operation that doesn't allow the man to pass the sperm out. What is that surgery called? Type it in the chat there for me. Let me see how much you're remembering. What is that surgery called? What is the surgery called? Tubal ligation, vasectomy. What is the surgery? Somebody type in there. What is it called? Vasectomy in male and tubal ligation in women. All right, very good. All right, very good. So we are here. And then my far side student said that, well, Amoy came on and Amoy changed the story. And I made it a little more complex. Amoy said that probably the vasectomy that the male thought he did, the tube was not severed, instead it was clamped. And because it was clamped, the clamp fell off, and as such, there's a possibility that he was responsible for the damage. And then there was another person her ex that she was playing around with, and whatever happened, and we thought that this was possible. And then we went to another story in which she went to a party, a pool party, and something that a very rare thing happened. And of course, she could have been party to that. And it opened up the thing that said, listen to me. And one of these person could have been the father, you know. So being that she's concerned, there's just one thing that she can do. And that would have been to go and do a DNA test to find out who is the real father. Because the man who was involved with her said that it was not him because he did a vasectomy. The fellow that she was playing around with said it was not him because he had no penetration. She went to the pool party and that she couldn't even think about because she was in the water and she didn't even touch anybody. So there we have it. Science happens. So today, my scientists will be venturing on something new. We're going to be talking about HIV and pregnancy. And I think it's a topical issue. While it is not so much outlined here for pregnancy, I think that we all need to know because we all want to stay alive. So my question to my far side students this evening, if a woman is pregnant and has HIV, can it be transferred to the offspring through the umbilical cord? So while that baby is inside of that woman, fetus, whatever, can this HIV, will the kid be affected by HIV? Talk to me, somebody in the chat. Yes, no, what will happen? So she's infected. Tanisha is saying yes. Anybody else? This is a big story, there's a whole lot of questions behind this. All right. So a woman is infected with HIV. We want to know if the fetus will also be affected or if the fetus can be affected. Under normal circumstances, will the fetus be affected? I don't know. I'm just asking. Okay, yes, 50-50 chance. No, it's impossible. Tough question. But based on my knowledge, yes, it's not taking, if not taking medication. Yes, but not all times. A whole lot of things been said here. Correct, Jersey. Yes, in normal circumstances, yes, the baby will be affected. Well, it's a 50-50% chance. Yes, sir. Under normal circumstance, no. If she get treated, the child will not. Anything else? If no, baby, if no, baby can be exposed. Not too sure where that's going, but yes, through the placenta. A whole lot of stuff. I'm a little confused. Is that possible? And if that is really possible, not for you to answer now, I'm going to get into the answer. How is it that there are women who are getting pregnant with HIV and the baby doesn't have HIV? Interesting. It's good. It's a good thing I'm at class today. So let me see what we have here. HIV can be passed through the placenta to infect the fetus. The question, Didi, was if a woman is pregnant and has HIV, can it be transferred or can it go across the placenta and affect the offspring? No, we don't reach labor yet, man. Not done labor yet, man. We are doing it one at a time. A whole heap of case we have to solve, you know. We are solving the case that is at hand. So the case we are solving now, we want to find out if it can go across. Now, I gave the answer. There were all other things. Oh, God's word. So HIV, I see you're going, Tanisha. HIV can be passed through the placenta to infect the infant. That is something you need to take note of. Another thing that you need to know is that the baby may also be infected at the time of birth. You know, the mother blood fluids, the water breaking, that pretty much put the baby at risk. So you have the baby break, you have the water being broken. What we call water broken. You understand? We're going to get there. The water being broken, yeah. And of course, the blood and all of that. The baby could, of course, become infected then. The baby could become infected then. Another thing that you need to know about pregnancy and HIV is that if you have HIV, you should not breastfeed the baby. If you breastfeed the baby, you might cause the baby to acquire this infection. So we looked at three things there around pregnancy and HIV. Now, I am not finished. I am not finished. My far side students have more things to look at. So we are now going to be looking at something a little different. How can we reduce this risk of passing the HIV to the offspring? What are some things that we can do to ensure that even though it's unfortunate, we understand that you have the dreaded disease, it's a pandemic. So we really want to protect the offspring so that we can, of course, protect our species and continue to maintain our population dominance or our species dominance. So what is it that we can do as scientists now to, of course, reduce that risk of passing the HIV to the offspring? All right, so now the baby is inside, the fetus is inside of the mother. So that is what we want to do. We want to know what we need to do in order for little Zeph to come out all nice and dandy. All right. So let me see what we have here. A lot of persons are googling out. So, all right, breast care was before. I think most doctor C-section. All right, that's one of the things we can look at. Take medication so viral load get low. These are some big things. These sound good. Take antiretroviral during pregnancy. Wow. Take your medication. C-section. All right. The first thing, these are all correct. These are beautiful answers. The first thing I am going to advise that you do, you need to seek medical help. You are going to take your doctor's advice. And if you are infected, it is responsible of you to share with your partner. You can be treated and live a happy life. So you are going to listen to your doctor's advice. You are going to take prescribed antiretroviral drugs during pregnancy. You are going to take anti-HIV drugs during labor. When you have the, you are going to take antiretroviral, anti-HIV drugs during delivery because we want to keep the viral load down. You want to get tested as is recommended by your doctor. Your doctor would be doing the screening to look at the viral load to ensure that the baby is not at risk and you really don't come down sick. All right? The other thing is that if the HIV load is high in the mother, the doctors will have no option but to perform C-section. Now, as soon as the baby is born, the baby will be given anti-HIV drugs. Most importantly, we know you want to have that bond baby can be exposed to. Good. So we know you want to have that bond with the child, but do not breastfeed the baby. Now listen to the good news. If you follow all those advice, there is a 99% chance, 99, 9 and 9% chance that your baby will be fine. So you realize if you follow the chance, there's just 1% chance of the baby being affected. Now, if you want to find more information on baby HIV test will positive for the first few months of life. What about that 1%? The 1%. I was saying that if you follow the directives of your healthcare professionals, then the chances of exposure will of course be about 1%. Now, Amoy is saying that the baby HIV test will be positive for the first few months of life. That might happen. It might not happen, depending on the viral load and the care that was taken in delivery. Remember that we are using medication from we find out day one. All right, so we want to deal with that. Now, if you want to find out more information about HIV and pregnancy, you could visit the American College of Obstetrics and Gynecology. They are online. You could go there and have a feast of knowledge about this particular disease and how you can care or advise persons to care. So now I am going to give you another question. Why should you be tested for HIV during pregnancy? Why should you be tested for HIV during pregnancy? Tell me in the chat there, why should you be tested for HIV during pregnancy? All right, so my foresight students, they are looking at HIV and pregnancy. We want to ensure that everybody is safe. And while we talk about HIV and pregnancy, and we are pretty much alluding to the RNA virus, which is, of course, AIDS. Remember that monogamy or abstinence is pretty much a good option on the table to ensure that you stay away from this disease. So we're trying to find out now, why should you be tested for HIV during pregnancy? And it is, of course, to prevent the baby from, of course, contracting the virus, to know your status so you can use the necessary measures to protect baby and, of course, yourself, to take necessary precautions if it was transmitted. All right, Amoy, so you can know your status and take necessary precaution for the unborn child. Always the best to abstain, really. The literature is saying that. The literature is saying that. What can I say? I'm just a little teacher, but the literature is saying that the persons who are well learned, the technocrat, they are saying that you should abstain. But remember, we need to have 2.1 children in order to replace the family on earth. So I don't know if abstinence will get us there, but ensure that at all times you are practicing safe sex. All right, Tamara Barnett. Getting tested will give you a chance to know and to take the necessary steps to have a healthy baby and also to protect yourself and, of course, partner. Abstinence makes sense. If you say, I yield. Also, yourself to improve their health and to prevent passing the virus to their infant. Beautiful. All these are wonderful answers. Now, I am looking at my next forensic question, but it seems as if I have repeated a question. I don't know why I would do that. All right. Okay. Never mind. I will move on. Now, during pregnancy, if you are tested positive for the virus, then of course your doctor will place you on what is called a regime, in which you will be given this antiretroviral or this anti-HIV drugs in order to make sure that you are safe. And can I extend it to those who are around you as well to ensure that everyone is safe? Remember, you're not going to catch AIDS by contact. It doesn't work like that, all right? So the other question and the big question, I've heard persons saying, if me catch AIDS, may I give everyone? If me catch AIDS, or if I were supposed to be exposed to the HIV virus, then what sense would it make for me to wear a condom? Then you understand that if you are exposed to this virus, then your immune system will, of course, be compromised. So my next question to my Farsight students, should condom be used during pregnancy if you are HIV positive? Does it make any sense to wear a condom? Does it make any sense to wear a condom? Tell me in the chat. Does it make sense? Does it make sense if you are HIV positive to wear? All right, a lot of persons are saying yes, yes, it should, yes, yes, it should. Any other answers? All right. Yes, yes, I believe it is. You should have other, also have you also have other STD that can be transmitted. Very good answer. All right, very good. So of course, you should wear a condom as you might be exposed to other forms of infection, and also to prevent transmission to partner. It doesn't necessarily mean that because you are exposed. Yes, it doesn't necessarily mean that because you are down with the virus, your partner will necessarily have it. Yes, to protect our partner and contracting other disease such as HSV. All right, so these are, of course, some very good answers. Immune system is compromised, so it is easy to pick up anything else. Very good. All right, so I think we have done a real nice job here. The risk at C-section, this is another question I should give you. This is another question I should give you. And this is another question that you probably would have asked. We spoke about C-section. We spoke about C-section. And we said that if you are suffering from that HIV and the viral load is high, then it is wise that you do C-section. Now, the question will be asked, as Amoy said here, your immune system will be compromised. And now with a compromised immune system and a cut, what will happen? Do you think it will heal just the same, or will you be having problem? Will it heal easily, or will you be having some problem? Sir, can they take something that don't want to say kill, but kill the baby? We really don't want to look at pretty much termination of pregnancy. Where we're going to be talking about termination of pregnancy, that is something that you'll have to talk about with the laws of your country, the laws of your religion, or the ethics or the values around your religious belief, and of course your medical professional I really can't say, and it is not something that I am even allowed to speak on based on our laws and belief in Jamaica. So I really couldn't treat with that here. Is it, it will take a longer to heal, 50-50, more infection since, okay, good. So I'm having a lot of responses here. B4 or CD4? Oh, you don't. I'm talking about CD4 cells. CD4 cells, as with the immune system. But I understand your meaning before. So if you have the infection, you will have to take, of course, medication. And this medication is taken to assist with the healing because, of course, you have a weakened immune system. So if you are not taking medication, then naturally it is going to take a longer time to heal, or you might be having problem with it healing. All right, very good. Now, if you need to get yourself a drink of water, you need to do that. We're going to be looking at birth. We are going to look at prenatal care, postnatal care. All that is coming up. Ultrasound, C-section, and of course, all those are things that we're going to be looking at in the next section of the show. So probably you want to get yourself some water, and of course, invite your friends to come on over and join us as we continue with reproduction this evening. Now, if you have not yet liked, share, or subscribe, it is time for you to do so now. Right? So invite your friends on over, have them come on. If you like the show, feel free to subscribe and ensure that you, of course, make use of our many videos, many lessons on the channel. And of course, you can join us on a Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday at 5:05 p.m. And we're streaming from Kingston, Jamaica, and it is free. It doesn't matter your race, color, creed, religious belief, or otherwise. Just come on over and join and have a good time. So we're now going to be looking at birth. So we started out by looking at the inefficient process of dating. Then we looked at copulation, fertilization, implantation, and of course, we looked at what exactly happened during implantation. And now we're going to look at it is time to blow your nose. So it's time to give birth. What is going to happen? And I shouldn't take away this from my ladies in the class, probably they want to share with me. All right. So I'm going to ask my friends in the class, Sir Bachelor, going to charge. All right, very good. All right. I'm going to be asking my friends in the class, if you so desire to share, what happened during the first stage of birth? The first stage of giving birth. Tell me what happens. I have a literature, I have never given birth. My belly is big, so probably about another month or so I'll be giving birth, but not yet. But some persons here might know what happens during giving birth. The first stage of giving birth. Tell me what happens in the chat. Males, I know you don't know. You probably have to listen to the lady. Tanisha, you're not getting it right this time. Loss of blood, loss of blood. No, that is not the first thing. The process of labor to push the baby out. No, that is not the first thing. You are ignoring something. You are ignoring. All right. I'm seeing something coming up in the chat there that looks a little more like it. A contraction. Yeah. Mother feels the first contraction of a wall of the uterus. Fetus turn upside. well, yes, that is going to happen, but that is not considered to be the first. Giving birth, the process is going to start now. So the first thing that is considered is that you are going to have contraction of the muscles in the uterus, and this is happening in order to push the baby out. Now, this is of course going to cause a number of other things to happen. Now, it will cause the baby to, of course, stimulate the maternal pituitary to, of course, make oxytocin. Remember, we're talking about oxytocin the other day when we were talking about feedback mechanism. Right, so it will, of course, stimulate it to make oxytocin. And of course, this is, of course, an involuntary action. You don't have any control over this. Baby ready to come, you just have to respond. There's nothing you can do that more than just allow the body to do. So, of course, it's an involuntary action. We are going to have rhythmic contraction. So you're going to have this rhythmic contraction of the uterus or of the womb, whichever you call it, in order to allow the baby to see daylight. Then the other thing that is going to happen, tell me the other thing. I can't take it away. What is going to happen? So now you have this first contraction. Because your doctor will tell you, you're going to have baby on the 22nd of the first. When you feel those first contraction, feel them, and they'll tell you when the interval, whatever. I don't know. You're going to make your way to the clinic or the hospital, wherever. So what is going to happen after you? Oh, wow. Look at what is happening there. Right? Very good, Amoy. So what is going to happen here is that the water, like I said, the water is going to break. So the amnion break, water pass out, baby pass through the pelvis and into the vagina. We're not there yet, but of course the water break. So now the water break, what we call the water break, the amniotic fluid is now flowing out. So the baby is pretty much on his way to glory land. Now, this will cause a further release of oxytocin. And remember, we said that oxytocin is more than plenty, right? And it is, of course, a positive feedback mechanism. Now, the second stage is that now the baby, the second stage here, the baby now will start pushing through that birth canal, and you know the birth canal, in order to come out to glory land, the land that is full of crime and poverty and nice people and some persons that are not so nice. The baby will now have to come out and face this. Now, the last stage, which is a third stage, is that point where the umbilical cord will have to be clamped and severed, and then a portion will of course be left on the abdomen of the baby. Now, every woman who would have gotten pregnant or who will be getting pregnant should have some knowledge of oxytocin. That is the hormone that is really responsible for those rhythmic contractions. And if it is not happening like it should, then the doctor is going to prick you with a needle, or what they do, they give you a drip. They might give you a drip as well. Yeah, they might give you a drip. All right. So pretty much that is what happens with birth. It is a three-step process: contraction, discharge of the amniotic fluid, then of course the pinning or the severing of the umbilical cord. That is pretty much what happens in that room that men are afraid to go. They give pill to, I think they might do an insert as well. All right. So now that you have this baby, nice one. You know how long we've been waiting on this baby? We are going to call him a nice name. So now that you have this baby, it is now time to talk about breastfeeding. I know some of you women don't want to talk about any breastfeeding because you are saying that it is going to cause problem with shape and all of this thing and all of this fancy dancy. But of course, lactation is very, very important. This whole idea of breastfeeding is, of course, very important. Now, lactation, which is, of course, the production of milk. Now, this is initiated by the hormone that is called prolactin, right? And of course, the pituitary gland is integral in the process. Now, I don't like to hear him cry. Now, breast milk is very, very important because that first milk there, that is called colostrum, that is of course produced by the mother. It is very important in helping the baby with its immunity. So colostrum, that first milk, you want to ensure that the baby gets that first milk. So I hear somebody asking, so what about the baby that was born to the mother with HIV? They'll give the baby supplement. Now, after you start feeding this baby, this milk, and the breast milk, of course, contain antibodies. We're going to look at that when we look at immunity from the mother. And this, of course, like I said, would help the baby with the immunity. Now, this milk contains nutrient. But it is important to know, my ladies, let me come a little closer and tell you this. It is important to note that this breast milk doesn't have any iron. This breast milk does not, yes, it's natural immunity. This breast milk does not have any iron. So after you would have fed this baby for relatively good time, then you have to come upon a period that is considered to be weaning. This is where in agriculture we talk about hardening off. So we start to give the baby some of the food that you eat. Make sure that the food is not pepper and the food doesn't contain anything too heavy that will affect the baby. So you crush some little stuff. When you go to your clinic, they'll tell you what to do. Mr. Wilson is not good at that. All right. So of course you're going to start the weaning process, and this weaning process means gradually changing the diet from the mother's milk to, of course, food. All right. So it will mean changing there the food provision, food. So you are going to give the baby some of what you are eating. Don't be too craving, and don't give the baby any dumpling or anything like that that is going to cause constipation. Give the baby very simple things that the baby's stomach will be able to deal with. So, bam, now you blow your nose, the baby is out. You have allowed the baby to what they call latch onto the breast, learn to suck the breast and learn how to find the breast and all of that. The baby got the colostrum, the baby is drinking the milk, and the baby starts sucking milk, start producing all of that. Then it is time now, the baby probably passed the first stool that is called micronium. You could look for that. It's not on your syllabus, so I won't talk much about micronium. It's now time for you to go home, and you go home now, you're going to have antenatal. I'm going back way. I'm going back way. This I should have taught this before. So you're going to have I should have taught this before. Antenatal or prenatal care. Antenatal or prenatal care. This is the part where we talk about going to clinic. They'll ask you, start going to clinic yet? Which private doctor you're seeing? And this is very, very important for both mother and offspring. And I want to extend it to the father. It is important to the father as well, because if the mother were supposed to get sick or the baby were supposed to get sick, then of course the father will come under some pressure. So you have care and of course advice that is needed during, of course, pregnancy. And this come before you give birth and all of that. It come during the time of you being pregnant. All right. You have advice that will be given to you by your doctors as to what you should do and how it should be done. And like I say, it is important for baby, it is important for mother, and it is also important for father, and we could extend it to family because we are going to have this social or the psychological effect problem that will be caused if mother is not fine and if baby is not fine. Now, some of the advice that you will get at these antenatal clinic is that they will tell you, no, I have never gone, yeah, I've gone to the clinic. Yeah, I've gone to the clinic. But let me allow the ladies to just tell us about it. As daddy, let me tell you, they are going to tell you about diet, what you should eat. All right, because you want to ensure that your diet contains things that will support the growth of the child. What else they are going to tell you when you go to that clinic before you have baby? Your antenatal clinic. Tell me in the chat there. Don't worry yourself. It's a very short show this evening. So what are they going to tell you when you get to that clinic? They are going to tell you about what you should eat. They are going to tell you a little bit about hygiene. What else they are going to tell you? Tell me now, guys. You have gone to the clinic. You don't remember what the doctor told you or the nurse or that training session that you had. All right, somebody is getting the feed late. So I understand the feed just coming across, but that's fine. They are going to tell you not to use drugs. Yes, because this, of course, will damage or we could have fatal effect on the growth of the fetus, and it could, of course, damage the fetus. So drugs and alcohol, they are going to tell you to stay away from it. It is important to breastfeed. The feed is going slow for some persons. So I'm asking now, what are some of the advice that will be given? The advice that will be given to you at this antenatal clinic. They are going to tell you to drink plenty of water. They might tell you about folic acid. I don't know about folic acid. I have seen folic acid. I really don't know. Uh, what to take to hospital for delivery? Yes, they're going to tell you that and tell you when you must pack up and what you must not pack up. They are going to tell you about taking care of your health. They are going to tell you that even though you put on 2 more pounds extra, you must still do some exercise. They are going to tell you about the whole order of maternity. They're going to tell you all of that. They are going to tell you some of the signs and symptoms of different things, what you should look for, and if this is happening, you should come in or you shouldn't come in. You are going to be talking to your doctor about your genetic tree, some of the problems that your family would have had that could affect your pregnancy. You might be talking about blood type, you might be talking about inherited disease. Your doctor might be advising you or making mention of some things that you can do so as to ensure that the baby is all fine, nice, and dandy. Now, we want to look at this. We're continuing. The doctor will, of course, talk about virus, like I said, disease and all of that. They'll talk about like the virus rubella. The virus rubella that causes, of course, German measles. And of course, this can, of course, pass across the placenta and cause blindness, of course, a hole in the heart of the baby. You are going to be talking, of course, about STDs because STDs could, of course, cause deformity in your baby. So you want to ensure that both mother and father, they are doing their regular checkup. They are ensuring that they are safe. Stay away from this run up and down and over this and around this and down this and all sorts of things like those. Stay away from those because we want to ensure that we have a healthy offspring. What will take place in the trimesters? I'll forget that fancy name. You are going to look at all the trimesters and you are going to, of course, they are going to tell you what should happen and what shouldn't happen. And you are going to get an app on your phone. These modern days, I forget to talk about that. In modern days, you're going to get an app on your phone, and every week, oh, this is the first week, the baby is doing this. Oh, this is the second week, the baby is doing this. Hey, look here, he should be doing this now. Oh, wow, you feeling right here? So, all of that you're going to be doing. I tell you, it is nice experience for those persons who have ever experienced it and those persons who are in family life type of thing. It is really, really sweet. All right. So you get your little app on your phone and you're watching, you're even looking at the little picture of the baby there, saying that, oh, the baby is like this now. Oh, him have ear now. Oh, him have finger, that type of thing. All right. So guys, if you've never been there, if you're a father and you've never been integral to this process, I encourage you to be there with mom. Go to some of the clinics. Don't be macho and say, oh, man, no got clinic. You see nothing wrong with me. I'm me pregnant. You tell me about clinic. For me, not going to clinic. Go to the clinics and learn some stuff. Meet some other father. Help mother to share the time. You want your baby mother to go to the clinic and look like she's a crocodile? Like it's lay she going to lay the baby? You have to follow mom to the clinic sometime. Ensure that other persons know that there's a responsible father behind this pregnancy. ensure that everyone knows. Let me take off my glasses here. I'm talking to my brothers here. I'm talking to my brothers here. And I'm going to be talking to the ladies too. So Didi can stay there and know so me I come right back around to who know. Or to you guys. So if you are behind a pregnancy, follow your partner to the clinic. Help them to go through this. This is not a one-man band. You alone go and me go and work. Tell your boss, me sick to the bossy. Me sick, me have some mental depression thing because guess what? I'm following mommy to work to do the clinic to ultrasound, to do the ultrasound. I'm following her to get the heartbeat. I'm following her just to hold her into her hands to say, I am here for you. Don't worry yourself. I'm going to be here right unto the end. Right? And guess what? While you're there with mommy and baby, you know that baby in the belly start to think about this is a nice father. You know that when I come out, I'm going to sort of just bite him on the ears or slap him in the forehead like that and tell him, I really love you, daddy, something like that. This is not a part of the lesson, but of course, I have to talk about that. Let me get back to the lesson. So we're going to be doing checkup all the time. So we're going to be doing checkup during the antenatal care. And this is where I'm going to be talking about a number of stuff, explaining some stuff that would have happened and probably you didn't even realize what you were doing, right? But I am outside of fun and joke. Let me put my glasses back on. I am very serious, my brothers. You are supposed to follow the women to the clinics. Yes, you are supposed to follow them. And women, you know what I'm going to say. Unless otherwise legally agreed on, make sure that the right father is the right father. Yeah, you don't want this fella to follow you to the clinic and thought that he was left and then he found out that he's right and then he's all embarrassed and you damage somebody's son. And when you damage somebody's son, you know what will happen to the other woman? You don't want to do that, all right? You don't want to do that. Good. So we are now looking at checkup doing this antenatal care. And the antenatal care, you're going to do blood tests. Tell me what you do, no man. Hey. Say you're going to do a blood test, right? Because from early out, we have to find out about the blood type. We're going to look on the rhesus factor because we don't want to lose the baby, So the blood, we're going to find out some stuff. We're going to do the blood works to find out some stuff. Now, if you have ever lost a child, you need to talk about it here. And I'm going to be telling you everything like I am a doctor. I am not a doctor. I'm just a lousy teacher. Oh, I'm buffering. I'm sorry. All right. So you're going to be doing blood tests to find out what is all right. You have AIDS or you have HIV. This is how we are going to deal with it. You have this disease. We have to deal with this disease because we don't want to don't want it to affect the baby. What is your blood group? Because we want to ensure that we are catering for the baby. What is the rhesus factor like? That things we have to look at. Then we have to look at blood pressure. What is the blood pressure like over the period of time? Because if the blood pressure is high, then you understand the glomerulus then going to get shot. They are going to be broken, severed, and you're going to damage the kidney, or you might very well have a stroke. So we have to monitor the blood pressure and ensure that everything is all fine. So you're going to, I see urine tests. I'm going to talk about urine tests. So we do blood pressure tests to ensure that you're not going to damage your kidney or you won't have a stroke. We'll talk about blood tests and we're going to talk more about the blood tests. And of course, just let me look at what is here. You are going to do the urine test, and we are testing the urine to see if there's any glucose in the urine. Because if glucose is in the urine, then you are developing diabetes. And this can be a debilitating thing for both you and baby. Right? It could have dire consequences for both you and baby. So you have to ensure that you do the urine test. And for those persons who are saying that I am not going to any doctor when I'm pregnant, come throw away that old archaic type of idea and just go to the clinic, go to the doctor and get yourself all checked up. They are going to check your weight. Or one might say they are going to check your mass. right? So we want to see if you are gaining weight too fast or you're not gaining weight any at all, because a little old boy that is responsible for the damage. He won't even help you to buy 2 bag juice and 2 bulla so that the baby can get something to eat. Oh, no bag juice and bulla here, guys. Yeah, but the maintenance, they want to ensure that you are eating well. And not because you have this whole heap of money, because you're in your big job from UPSO. They don't want you to be eating too much, because then the body might start retain water, and of course also the other problem might be happening. You might be having other problems, and then they have to treat with that. So they have to check the size to ensure that the development, the weight, the mass of the person, mass of baby, they have to check all that to ensure that everyone is doing well as it relates to diet and eating and development. The next thing they are going to check, holy holy, this is a big one. Ask Mr. Wilson. I don't know want to come draw me about pregnancy for him, but let me start telling you. They are going to check the size of the uterus. And they are checking the size, they are checking the size of the uterus, and they are checking the uterus, and I'm going to be talking about 2 things. They are going to check the uterus to see if there's any infection like fungal infection. So they might send you to do what is called a smear test. Is the same thing they call pap smear. They're going to send you to do a smear test for the fungus. They're going to send you to do a smear test. Another thing that will come up in your ultrasound, and I'm going to go to ultrasound in a few, is that they're going to look at the opening of the cervix to see if it is opening, because some of you women, you know, when you reach 22 weeks, oh Jesus, I don't want to talk about it. They also check the length of the cervix to see how the baby are all inside it, or if the baby can hold inside it. They check the opening, they check the length, and they want to ensure that poor little baby won't come before time. You don't want the baby for born before Christmas, because it's Christmas, you're getting a little bonus. So of course you have to go to the doctor and make sure we check up on all of these things. There is sense in the nonsense that I'm talking. If you are a woman living with HIV, okay, there are some stuff that are coming a little late. Pregnant treatment. All right, good. Some nice things coming here in the chat. You want to pay attention to them. So all these are some of the tests that you are doing, and I'm explaining to you why you are doing these tests. You're going to have the ultrasound, but I'm going to talk about ultrasound by itself. Now, you're going to do blood tests. Let me get back to blood tests. And the blood test might tell if you are anemic. And this is a very, very important thing. And I'm going to tell you why they're going to do this blood test and check the iron count. They are going to check the level of iron, because a low intake of food that is rich in iron during pregnancy will, of course, affect the hemoglobin. And that will, of course, cause less oxygen to be available in the blood for both mother and fetus. Now, if there is less oxygen in the blood there, then you understand also then the rate of respiration will be less, because you need that oxygen for respiration. Now, this could be fatal for fetus. It is definitely going to cause the mother to be, I'm tired. I just can't go nowhere. I just don't feel like move. You can't carry that, come for me. So it could be fatal to the fetus. So they have to ensure that they are checking the blood for these things. Now I'm going to touch a big topic now, and this is also an expensive topic. I am still on blood tests. The RH factor or the rhesus factor. Now this is a problem under one circumstance. When the mother is what you say? What is rhesus factor? What is RH factor? I heard you. So you're asking me about that. So let me tell you what it is. Not about it. Our blood group, you would have heard about blood group. And the blood groups are O. No, I can't take away. Tell me the blood groups in the chat for me, please. And then I'll tell you more about rhesus factor. What are the blood groups? What are the blood groups? Tell me in the chat there. What are the blood groups? You don't need to worry. You know, this evening is a very short class. I had a whole lot doing today. So you don't need to worry. We're going to be looking at this, and then we're going to be having a whole lot of chat where you are going to be teaching me a whole lot of stuff. So I want to know what the blood groups are. This is, of course, Mr. Wilson Live, and we are streaming from Kingston, Jamaica. And of course, we are covering biology and human and social biology for the CXC CSEC examinations. All right, so I am seeing A, B, and O. Very good. Now, while we have these blood groups, there's also, you would have heard when you did that blood test to check your blood group, you would have heard about A positive and B positive and all of those stuff. Hey, Creek, big up yourself. How you doing? You would have heard about these. Now, the A and the O and the whatever, those are the blood group. The positive and the negative, those are the rhesus factors. Those are the rhesus factors. Now, I'm going to be telling you about the rhesus factors, and I'm going to give you a channel on YouTube that you can go and have further clarity on the rhesus factor. I want you to look at this for those persons who have not had children as yet, and for those persons who would have been exposed to this nice experience. You probably want to understand better the rhesus factor. Sometimes it's not so clear to you, so we want to make it clear today. So rhesus factor becomes a problem when the mother is negative and the baby is positive. It is the only time that it is a problem. Now, this is what happens. The rhesus, or we call it rhesus factor, is pretty much this protein that is formed on the outside of a red blood cell. It is formed on the outside of a red blood cell. If you are positive, you have it. If you are negative, you don't have it. Another important thing is that it can be inherited, or it is inherited. Now, it becomes a problem, like I said, when you are rhesus negative, and this is the mother now, and of course the child is rhesus positive. Well, that's a problem around pregnancy and baby, that I didn't even know that it was so hard for a baby to come. I didn't know. I thought that everything happened and you just go to the hospital and you come back down with the baby. But it's not as easy as that. All right, there are some other complications. I must tell you about the best time for childbirth before I leave here. Ensure that we talk about that. So most people, probably about 85 or more than 85, are rhesus positive. Not a problem. The thing about this rhesus positive and negative, it doesn't affect your life on a day-to-day. It doesn't affect your life. The only time it becomes a problem is during pregnancy, where the mother is negative. Now, the problem is that the baby will make antibodies. Remember that antibodies are your buddies, so they are your friends. All right? Antibodies, buddies, they are your friend. So the body will make antibodies that will cause the immune system to attack the baby red blood cell. And what will happen is that these red blood cells will be destroyed faster than they can be replaced. Now, what is happening here is that the mother's body is seeing this blood type, seeing this baby as a foreign organism. You don't belong here. I'm going to get rid of you. Now, in the process of the blood being broken down, there is what is being formed that is called, one might say, bilirubin, right? And this bilirubin will cause the baby to have jaundice. That is just one of them. And if it is not taken care of by your healthcare practitioner, it could cause brain damage, and it could also continue, I will talk more about this, to cause death. Now, there's this channel on YouTube. It is called Zero to Final. That's somebody's phone ringing through a speaker, you know. Somebody's phone ringing through a speaker. All right, so you are going to Zero to Final, and you are going to be looking at this. The name of the video is called Understanding Resource Status and Anti-D in Pregnancy. All right, so the name of the channel is Zero to Final. I don't know whose channel it is. I am not an affiliate, but if you find a good channel that can work for your students, you are going to share it. You are not going to try to act as if you are the brightest person in the world. I am not the keeper of knowledge. I always say that to my students. So you are looking for this video that says Understanding Resource Status and Anti-D in Pregnancy. I think it's a very good video. And the quality is really, really good, and it helps a whole lot. So I want you to look at that. Now, what you're going to be suffering from, or the condition there with the blood cell being destroyed, is of course called an hemolytic disease. And of course, a hemolytic disease is a disease in which blood cells are being damaged. And we spoke about bilirubin, which is of course going to cause brain damage, jaundice, anemia, and of course, it could lead to, of course, death. So the resource factor, the blood test that we spoke about, you need to know. I need to tell you about another one. I don't have it to talk about today, but it came to me now. There is another thing with the baby and the mother. Now the baby is born. That is called, I think it's called blood type incompatibility. I don't remember what it is called, but I'll explain what it is. In that the mother might have, for example, blood group O, and the baby has blood group A. Now the baby will have jaundice and might have to stay in the hospital and be treated. It's usually not so severe, but of course this incompatibility with the blood group could also cause jaundice outside of the rhesus factor. And I also spoke about ABO incompatibility. Very good. ABO incompatibility. Now, I spoke about jaundice, not jaundice, I spoke about rhesus factor. I spoke about ABO incompatibility. And also, I spoke about, did I tell you about cervical incontinence? Can somebody spell that for me? Cervical, I am not going to be able to pronounce that word until next year. All right, but what it means is that the cervix is too shallow, and what is going to happen is that the baby, you will have the baby by spontaneous abortion probably about 22 weeks. So of course the ultrasound is also important. All right, so the blood test is important. The ultrasound is also important. A lot of things happening here in the chat, but I am sort of locked into this thing. I'm advising my ladies here so that they won't make any mistake to say that we're not going to doctor and all of that. I want to look at ultrasound. Cervical incompetence. Cervical incompetence. All right. If you have to go to the doctor and ensure that this is all checked, and it will be checked with the ultrasound. It is the ultrasound here that is going to save you. There's a guys, let me talk some stuff now, man. I'm not talking any biology now, but I have to talk to the ladies. Now, there are some persons who each time they get pregnant, they are losing the baby. And in some cases, depending on which doctor you're going and where you're going, if you're not going to, I can't call this word neither. Obstetrician. That person that deal with the baby natal care thingy, that if you don't have a good practitioner, you might be losing your baby and think that you can't have a child, all because probably the person who is advising you is not so, that's not pretty much their area. They might just be a general practitioner. So you have to see them, and what sometimes persons have to do, let me use a layman term, they will, of course, I am not going to be able to call this one. I was able to call the one before, but I can't call this. There are some words I can't call. That's one of my limitations. All right. So they are going to be doing some surgery in order. I think they are going to do some operation. I don't remember what it is called. That they are going to stitch up the neck of the cervix. There, I really don't remember what it is called. So as to keep the baby, and they might put you on bed rest and all of that, and you get some long leave from work to ensure that you can have your child. So make sure that if you are pregnant, you are seeing reputable persons and not just a general practitioner. The general practitioner is for the first part of pregnancy. I think. I am not hitting any general practitioner here because I am not a doctor. I can't even tell somebody to take a Fenzik. I don't have that authority. Good. So the ultrasound will of course provide that visual image of the offspring, right? So you are going to see what the baby cerclage. It's called cerclage. Very good. That stitching up of the is called cerclage. You see, I have bright students here. All right. So the ultrasound will cause, of course, will give you a visual image of the baby inside of a woman. It will also help the doctor to look at the position and the formation of the offspring to ensure that the offspring is being formed properly and pretty much in the right position. Now, another thing is that it will look at the proper formation to ensure that everything is intact. The head is where it should be, the hand is where it should be, and that type of thing. It will also look at the sex of the baby. You know, what they call this now? They have this. I don't know a lot of things. You know, so if I ask me a lot of things on the computer, don't bother come laugh after me and tell me that me don't know nothing. All right, very good. All right, very good. You know this thing where they have this thing now. I see it on social media where they go to this photo studio and then put on some fancy dancing. What is called sex reveal or something like that. Tell me in the chat. I am old. You know that I am old and I don't remember these things. What is it called in the chat? Somebody can tell me. You know, when you're pregnant and you go and do that ultrasound something and you find out whether it is male, baby, whether it is male or female, and you're going to burst some balloon and do all sort of fancy dancing, cut a cake, gender reveal. All right. See there, I don't even know the name. I wonder if my parents did any gender reveal. Why? Have mercy upon me. Them young people here are not easy at all. Gender reveal. Yes, yes, the gender reveal party. So the ultrasound is very, very important for the gender reveal. That is where you are going to get the sex. And sometimes the woman turn away the head. You look, I don't want to look. Don't tell me. And then the doctor will write it down on a little piece of paper and give it to you. And then if you're a man and you see it and you see a little boy, your shoulder just gone up in the air. Then they drop down like so, them just gone up in the air. Hey, we have a youth, you know, we have a son. I tell you about us. Now, another important thing about the ultrasound, and I said I was going to look at this in the start of the show, is that the ultrasound will help you to make a correct prediction or a more accurate prediction of the age of that fetus or of the age of that, the fetus. Make a correct prediction of the age, right? And they are going to use measurements to do that. And that is how we came about with understanding when the baby is supposed to be born. I think the ultrasound will advise the doctor as to when the baby will be born. And of course, one other thing I want to tell you. That is how the 37 to 40 weeks come in play that you know when the baby will be born based on the age on the ultrasound. The ultrasound will help you to do that. Now, another thing that the ultrasound will do, the ultrasound will also look at the size of the pelvic, right? So the ultrasound is doing a lot of things in order to ensure that you have the baby and the baby is fine. I know that some of us who are probably old like me, you are saying that you're not doing any ultrasound because it doesn't make sense. But in today's day and age, sometimes you can do these things and you have medication that can correct some problem that could cost you a lifetime of problem or trouble just because you did not follow modern medical practice. Now, the ultrasound, it is the ultrasound from day one. If you were going to the doctor, it is the ultrasound that will help to determine if a C-section will be needed. It is the ultrasound. So there I have looked at blood tests, urine tests, ultrasound, everything. Everybody know what will be needed. The boys who are planning on becoming fathers, the young ladies who are planning on becoming mothers. You see, I have touched a whole lot, a whole lot. Baby game is an expensive game. Really, really expensive game. It's really, really expensive. So it takes us, we're now at the point where we're going to be looking at postnatal care. So postnatal care, we look at antenatal and prenatal care. That is what we're looking at coming down, right? So now you have the baby, you went to clinic, you have the baby, and now you're home with the baby. So this is care after the baby, right? So when you go to these clinic or go back to the doctor will be talking about diet. What is it that you should be eating? You want to ensure that your diet have some protein, vitamin, calcium, and other added minerals. Of course, they are going to talk about your behavior. What is it that you should and should not do? Don't drink any alcohol. Don't smoke. They might gentlemen, you need to go to the clinic because there are some women who are suffering. Tell me this word again because I don't know the big word them. Postpartum parietal depression. What is the name of that depression again? After pregnancy. Only talk to me because I don't know them big word. What's it? Don't tell me in the chat now, man. The depression after pregnancy, what you call it, post whatever depression, what name? Oh my, nobody know what type of depression. You know what, Mr. Wilson for telling everything. Postpartum depression. That is true, because she might be telling me a lie. So I want somebody to tell me if it is true. More than one person type the thing, the man. You're not bright, man. Oh, not going like on a done side, Mr. Wilson. So, all right, very good. So, gentlemen, you need to go to the clinic that you have an understanding of these things. Because when the women come back from clinic with the baby, a whole lot of things is happening. One of the first things that is happening is that the woman is unbalanced. Because for 9, 10 months, she had to be bracing one side to hold the baby, hold our baby, and then the baby is no longer there. She's unbalanced, and the whole world changed. You know, she probably start feeling some pain and all of these stuff. I don't know, but she just wants you to be there. Probably, just want you to be there. So don't bother go to a rum bar, go drink no rum, and don't bother go down a football field, go play no football. Give her some time, and if you don't watch some football on TV, just reduce that and ensure that you're taking care of mommy and baby and to an extent yourself. All right. The mother, of course, will be checked at the postnatal clinics. She's going to be checked for infection. She's going to be checked for damage of the organ. I really don't want to say everything. She's going to check for damage of the organ and if there's any stitch that should be done or be removed, that will be done. They are definitely going to talk about the diet. We spoke about that, and diet of both mother and the baby, making sure that the baby is latching properly, the baby is feeding, how many times, how much the baby is having, that type of thing. If you're having milk and all of that thing, those things will be discussed. Weaning in the later part of the clinic will also be discussed because you really don't have the want to have the baby just sucking you until he's probably my age. You really don't want that. All right. They are going to talk to you about sleep pattern of the baby. The baby will wake up how much minute and how much hours and all of that. I don't know. Guys, you can tell me in the chat. They will tell you that at the postnatal care clinic so that you don't run, go to the pediatrician. Oh, as him put on him head like same, take it up back. As him put it down like same, take it up back. And when you go to knowledge about vaccination. Yeah, we're getting there. So we don't want you to run to the pediatrician and clog up the public healthcare system because you just did not go to clinic when you should go. So these things you want to know. They are going to ask you to watch for signs of normal development. And some of these things you can find on YouTube. So you're going to go to YouTube and you're going to look at them and look at normal development. Don't wait until the baby reach grade 7 at high school. That is when you just start realize that the baby, this happened, that happened. Let me tell you something. For those guys who don't understand the patois, the Creole, just let me know and I'll correct it. All right, but I know that some of you like to hear it. All right. The last person to ever accept that a child is having a challenge is the parents. Yes. Let me tell you something. If everybody is saying it, my grandmother told me, if it is not like that, it is almost like that. So check it out. If them say the baby having hydrocephalus, which is of course retention of water in the cranium here, and all that is needed to correct that is to just put a shunt in it to leak the water down. But because you didn't go to these clinics, you didn't know, and then the sinuses are all blocked, and then the head start grow like that, and the brain start be affected, and the whole everything about the baby is now being affected, all because you did not carry out your due diligence. Now, another thing somebody placed here nicely is vaccination. Oh, Jesus. Brother, it's a whole lot of disease out there, you know? And then come COVID-19. Now, they are going to be talking to you about the vaccination program, which will happen over a period of time. They are going to vaccinate you for diphtheria, whooping cough, tetanus, meningitis, hepatitis B, measles, mumps, rubella, pneumonia, tuberculosis, chickenpox. You see the long list? All of those are things that you'll be getting vaccinated for. So you want to ensure that you go to your clinic, do your checkup, ensure that all is well with little one so that you won't have to have a lifetime of regret. Only if I knew. I know for a lot of persons, this class seems to have been more about what is happening on the street. But it was a mixture of what is happening on the street and what the syllabus wants us to cover. This is human and social biology. So we are looking at how our behavior could impact our surrounding, the economy, and of course, our work and with everybody that we share space with. So it was very important for me to tie that into the lesson today so that of course we'll have a good grasp of this. And then we are going to be upping on in our next lesson, we're going to be looking at, of course, the menstrual cycle. We're going to be looking at that. I really didn't want to put that second to any lesson in a class because we're seeing that on the exam, persons are not doing so well with the menstrual cycle. So we wanted to cover that in a class by itself. We're also going to be looking at, hopefully in that class, we're going to be looking at birth contraceptive methods. Today is Wednesday. So I think Friday we're going to be looking at that. So it is going to be between Friday and Sunday that we should bring a wrap to reproduction because we'll have to look at some disease that are associated with all this reproduction issue. We're going to be looking at that as well. So this takes us to the pretty much to the end of the show, the immunization program, yes, to the end of the show. But I have good news for you. No, that's not what I'm going to tell you. I have good news for you. So let us have a drum roll. Let us have a drum roll. Somebody have a drum roll or something, a beater pot or something. Go into the kitchen and get a big spoon and beat a pot. Bang, 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 bang. All right, good. This is the good news. The good news is that the channel was established. Hey, how you doing? How you doing, Mr. Lewis? We are about to leave, but welcome. All right. So the good news is that the channel, we started the channel in September, somewhere mid-September. We were able to surpass 1,000 subscribers some weeks ago or some months ago. Usually, every time we reach a milestone, it is pretty much a day when we have a class. I am proud to say to you and to say thanks to you all, we have managed to reach the second milestone on YouTube. We have amassed in excess of 4,000 watch hours. With that said, if all things go well, you will be seeing ads on our programs and on our show. Thank you very much in whatever way you contributed by watching the videos, by inviting your friends on over, All that it can mean for us is that we'll be able to bring the lesson using more technology, a more friendly space for everyone. We are going to be here with you right until exams. I do hope that you've been making use of the 5 years worth of past papers. Now, this morning, thank you guys. This morning, I had class with some students. And what I did, I went through the past papers. I went through a past paper, and this is, I think I have not sent out all of it. I think I have not sent out one of my study guide. Tell me if you saw, if you have seen it, guys. A study guide that says measure yourself. It has everything about measuring yourself and how to get to that exam. So this was my advice to the kids this morning in measuring themselves. They were allowed to watch the videos this morning, and then at the end of the video, they were supposed to tell me honestly how many questions they were able to answer. What can I say? They were able to say, they were able to tell me, or they were supposed to tell me this morning how many of the questions they were able to answer. Yes, it was, I can't say it was frightening. It's not frightening to me. Because if the kids were at the level of answering all the questions, then they would need to come to class. So they having been able to answer one question or two questions or 10 or 20 or 30 or 50 or 60. Now, that is the base from which you are going to work. So you are going to choose one of my videos and you are going to watch the video and you are going to see how many of these questions you can answer and give good explanation for your answer, and you are going to grade yourself. So if you graded yourself and you found that you were able to answer 5 out of 60, start there. The next time you are going to do the same thing, you can now 6 out of 60, 7 out of 60, and you are going to record your progress like that and make sure you have your number being your guide. You are going to put that number, that progression chart, in your study area so you can see that you're at 6 away or whatever. It shows your progress. I recommended for you 5-year worth of past papers. Now, the examiner said, I have no proof, I don't have any literature on it yet, that it is going to be June, July. Instead of May, June, I was told that it's going to be June, July. I haven't seen a literature to say that, but I've heard that it's around that time. Now, so let us check. March, April, May, June, 4 months. But let us say that it is June. You had February. So now, you have about 3 to 4 months left to complete 5 past papers plus to study. Now, the persons who are doing HSB, I am going to be having a lab class with you. Yes, the grade 11 student, persons who will be sitting the exam. I am going to be having a lab class with you all on this live, after which I'm going to be sending you to go and watch the videos. You would have observed that in truth and in fact, you are not required to write up labs for HSB. But there are some labs that you should know. You should know diffusion. You should know osmosis. You should know photosynthesis. I don't remember. You should know food tests. I don't remember if you should know any other. I'll look at the syllabus and I'm going to ensure that I go through these well, explain them well, so that when you get to the exam, you can just master them with great ease. Having explained them, I'll send you to the channel to look at my videos and, of course, my explanation. Now we need to, I think I saw that video. Yes, sir, saw it on CXC website. It's a draft for not final. So it's a draft. So I really don't know. Now, for those persons who are doing biology, we would have, I said it in the last class, we would have posted the mark scheme that is used by CXC, and we did put up some simpler version of a mark scheme, and we will continue to put videos up, and of course, like I say again, for those persons who are joining late, thanks much for being a part of the channel. I know none of you knew me, I probably know a few students who are my students, but it has been really, really a wonderful journey with you so far, and I'm expecting that it is going to be very fruitful by the time you get to CSEC. Remember to watch the video again, and remember to always go through a past paper after the show to see which question you can answer that you were not able to answer before. Again, thanks so much for watching. Remember to like, share, and subscribe. Join us on a Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday at 5:05 p.m. for live shows from Kingston, Jamaica. That's it for me. Is there anything else you want to talk about, ask about? The show is finished for this evening. 2 hours. I am here. Anything else? The paper two, they are coming. The paper two are coming. I see that there is low consumption on the bio paper. So HSB, I'll be rolling out the paper two. I am like working on the 2021 bio paper two now. I've been working on that since last night. Started doing like typing over the whole paper. So that will be out. But of course, paper two is coming. I'm going to be doing, I don't know if I'm going to be doing 5 years, but I'm going to be doing paper twos. So no need to worry. You are in good hands. Just master the paper ones that you have now. And of course, like, share, and continue to subscribe. And of course, share with as many persons as possible so that, of course, we can reach a quota and continue to do the good work, helping those students who are pretty much in a disconnect. Happy birthday. Welcome, Broadway. Ensure you subscribe. Creek, you weren't at class. I hope everything is fine. My pleasure. Remember to get the show, all you need to like. Once you like the show, it would form a playlist on your YouTube account. Once you like a video, it forms a playlist on your YouTube account. Guys joining, you just missed the class. We're wrapping now, so we're going to catch you on Friday, 5:05 p.m. We are streaming from Jamaica. We're going to be looking at the menstrual cycle then and methods and family planning. So on Friday, please be reminded to like, share, and subscribe as we make our way off the air. Please be safe, keep studying, and we're looking forward to see those ones for bio and HSB.